Have you ever shown up at the airport, passport in hand, completely confident, only to get stopped because of something you had absolutely no idea about? That exact scenario is playing out for thousands of travelers right now, and the worst part is that most of them had no warning whatsoever. If you are planning any international travel in 2026, the next 10 minutes could genuinely save you from missing a flight, getting denied entry at a border, or spending hundreds of dollars on emergency processing fees. Stick around because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what has changed, what you need to do about it, and how to make sure you are not the person standing at the gate with a problem that could have been prevented. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, this is the place where we break down travel news, visa updates, and everything you need to know to move through the world smarter and with a lot less stress. Today we are diving into the passport rule changes happening in 2026, and trust me, there is more going on than most travel blogs are actually covering. Some of these updates are massive, and some are smaller details that people tend to overlook until it is too late. We are going to go through all of it clearly and in plain language, so you walk away from this video actually ready. Before we get into the specifics, let me give you a quick overview of what we are covering today. We are talking about validity requirements that have shifted, new digital and biometric passport standards, entry rule changes across major destinations, the ETS system for Europe, processing time delays you need to plan around, and some practical steps to take right now based on your personal situation. There is genuinely something in here for everyone, whether you travel once a year or every other month. So let us get into it. Let us start with something that catches people off guard more than almost anything else, which is the 6-month validity rule and how different countries are applying it right now. You probably know the basic concept. Many countries require that your passport be valid for at least 6 months beyond your planned departure date, not just your arrival date. But here is where people run into trouble in 2026. Some countries have quietly updated this requirement or are enforcing it more strictly than they used to. You might have traveled to a particular destination 2 years ago with a passport that had 4 months of validity left and had 0 problems. But that same situation today could result in you being turned away at the gate before you even board your flight, because airlines are also now responsible for checking compliance, and they are being stricter about it to avoid fines. The general advice has always been to make sure your passport has at least 6 months of validity remaining before any international trip. But what I want you to really take from this section is that you should not rely on what worked for you in the past. Rules shift, enforcement changes, and airlines have updated their own internal compliance checks. If your passport expires within the next year, now is the time to renew it, not a week before your trip. We will talk about processing times in a moment, and you will understand exactly why sooner is always better. Now let us talk about something that is genuinely new and that a surprising number of people still have not heard about. The European Travel Information and Authorization System, which most people know as ETS, has been in development for years, and 2026 is when Americans and citizens of other visa-exempt countries will officially need it to travel to most European countries. Think of it as Europe's version of a travel authorization, similar to what the United States uses with SDA for visitors coming here, or what Australia uses with their ETA system. Here is how it works. Before you travel to participating European countries, you apply online, pay a small fee which is currently set at around €7, and go through an automated screening process. Most applications are approved quickly, sometimes within minutes. However, some applications take longer, and a small percentage require additional review that can take days or even weeks. The authorization, once approved, is linked digitally to your passport and is valid for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. You do not get a physical stamp or sticker. It is entirely digital. Why does this matter for your passport specifically? Because ETS is tied to your passport number. If you get ETS approved and then renew your passport before your trip, your authorization is no longer valid for the new passport. You would need to apply again. This is the kind of detail that could absolutely blindside someone who renewed their passport last minute and assumed everything would carry over. It does not. Keep this in mind when you are planning the timing of both your passport renewal and any travel authorization applications. Let us also talk about digital passports and biometric requirements, because this is an area where things are evolving fast. Many countries are now requiring that travelers have biometric passports, sometimes called e-passports, which contain a small chip that stores your personal information and facial recognition data. If you have a passport issued in the last several years from a country like the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, or Australia, you almost certainly already have one. The chip is usually indicated by a small gold symbol on the cover that looks like a camera or rectangle with lines around it. However, if you have an older passport, or a passport from a country that has been slower to adopt biometric technology, you may run into issues at destinations that have updated their entry systems to require or prioritize biometric verification. Some countries are now using automated passport control gates that simply will not process non-biometric passports, which means you end up in a longer manual queue, or in some cases, face additional screening. This is not a reason to panic, but it is worth knowing about, especially if you are traveling to destinations with high entry volumes, where getting stuck in the wrong line can cause serious delays. Processing times are something I want to spend a real moment on, because this is where people consistently underestimate how complicated things have gotten. In the United States, standard passport processing times have been running significantly longer than the government's published estimates during peak periods. In 2025, and continuing into 2026, we have seen standard processing take anywhere from 8 to 11 weeks and sometimes longer during heavy travel seasons. Expedited processing, which costs extra, has been running around 3 to 5 weeks. Passport agencies offer emergency appointments for travelers with imminent departure dates, but those appointments are limited and require proof of travel within 14 days. What this means practically is that if you are planning a summer trip to Europe, for example, and you are watching this video in April, you need to be thinking about your passport situation right now. Not next month, right now. If your passport is expired or expiring, submitting your renewal application this week, rather than waiting, gives you significantly more buffer time and a lot less stress. Many travelers have missed trips or paid hundreds of dollars in rush fees simply because they assumed the process would be quick. Do not make that assumption in 2026. For those of you who are renewing for the first time or helping a family member navigate the process, here is a quick breakdown. You can renew by mail if your current passport was issued when you were 16 or older, was issued within the last 15 years, is undamaged, and you still have the same name or have legal documentation of a name change. If any of those conditions do not apply, you will need to apply in person at a passport acceptance facility. The renewal process requires a completed application form, your most recent passport, a new passport photo that meets current specifications, and the applicable fees. Current fees for a passport book renewal in the United States sit at around $130 for the book itself, plus an execution fee if you are applying in person. One thing worth mentioning about passport photos in 2026 is that the specifications are being applied more strictly than before, especially as biometric and facial recognition systems become more standard. The photo needs to be recent, ideally taken within the last 6 months, and it must meet very specific requirements around background color, expression, glasses, head coverings, and image quality. Photos that do not meet these standards will delay your application. If you are getting your photo taken at a drugstore or print shop, ask them specifically to confirm they follow current passport photo guidelines. Better yet, use an official passport photo service or the government's own online tool if one is available to you. Let us touch on some destination-specific updates, because a few of the world's most popular travel spots have made notable changes to their entry requirements that connect directly to your passport situation. The United Kingdom, for example, has been rolling out its electronic travel authorization system for visitors from countries that previously could enter without any pre-authorization. Similar to ETS for Europe, this requires an online application linked to your passport before travel. The fee is small, but the key point is the same as ETS. It is tied to your specific passport. If your passport changes, your authorization does not transfer. Japan has also updated some of its entry procedures in the post-pandemic period and continues to refine its immigration processing. Canada has been expanding its biometric collection requirements for visitors from additional countries. These changes are happening across the board, and the common thread is that more countries are moving toward digital, pre-screened, passport-linked travel systems. This means your passport is more than just a travel document now. It is the anchor for a whole network of digital authorizations and records that follow you from one system to the next. For anyone traveling with children, this is also a good moment to check passport validity for every member of your family. Children's passports in the United States are only valid for 5 years, compared to 10 years for adults. Parents sometimes keep meticulous track of their own passport, but forget that their child's passport may have already expired or is expiring soon. A family of 4 with 1 expired passport is a family that is not going anywhere until that gets resolved. So where does this all leave you? Here is your action plan based on everything we just covered. First, pull out every passport in your household right now and check the expiration dates. If anyone's passport expires within the next year or is already expired, start the renewal process immediately. Do not wait until you have a trip booked. Second, if you are planning any travel to Europe in 2026 and you are a citizen of a visa-exempt country like the United States, check whether ETS is active and required for your travel dates and get your application done in advance, making sure the passport you use for the application is the same one you will travel with. Third, confirm that your passport is a biometric passport by checking for the chip symbol on the cover. Fourth, make sure any passport photos you take meet current specifications. Fifth, account for realistic processing times when planning your trip timeline and build in extra buffer. Here is the bottom line. Passport rules are changing faster than most people realize, and the systems connecting them are getting more interconnected and digital every year. The travelers who are going to have smooth experiences in 2026 and beyond are the ones who treat passport management as an ongoing responsibility rather than something they deal with only when a problem comes up. You now have the information you need to stay ahead of this. If this video was helpful, please give it a like because it genuinely helps this channel reach more travelers who need this information. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are planning to travel in 2026, or if you have any questions about a specific situation you are dealing with. I read every comment, and I am happy to help point you in the right direction. Subscribe if you have not already, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss upcoming videos on visa updates, airport changes, and everything else happening in the world of travel this year. Safe travels, and I will see you in the next one.